companies require capital for their operations. For many companies, raising capital by going public is a solution. So there are a variety of factors that determine how to price an IPO when the company decides to go public. Now, the part of an IPO that every company wants to know is how much money are they going to get. So it begins with the pricing analysis, which includes comparing the company with its similar peer companies. Other factor also to be evaluated is whether the current trend is good or not so good for an IPO. As we need to know the worth of the company's shares in an IPO, the pricing is determined through a traditional process called book building. But in this video, instead of using book building, we'll see another option companies consider, that is Dutch auction IPO. The Dutch auction originated in the Netherlands for the sale of fresh flowers. So it is a type of auction that begins with a high price, subsequently lowering the price. So higher the price bidders bid, better is the chance of getting the shares. But this way, they may end up buying overvalued shares. On the other hand, lower is the bid price, lower the probability of winning the bid. The auction process is designed in such a way that it encourages investors to bid higher prices and raises the proceeds of the IPO. The Dutch auction can be used to sell treasury securities, floating rate debts, IPOs, and other securities. The goal of the Dutch auction is efficient pricing for both the company and the investors. So let's understand the steps involved in the Dutch auction process.
So initially, company announces the total number of shares they are willing to sell in the IPO. Here, the underwriter does not set a fixed price for the shares. After this, bidders submit their best bid with the number of shares at a specified price. After receiving all the bids, a list is created where the bids are placed from high to low with the highest bid at the top. Later on, the final issue price is determined. It is the price that covers the full offer quantity. You'll understand this point better in the coming example, which explains the entire Dutch auction process. And finally, after the issue price is determined, all the investors are then allocated their shares at the final issue price. They are only required to pay the issue price and not their quoted price.
Suppose a company A wants to sell 600 shares. So it has asked investors to bid for the shares and has received 6 bids. Now this is the bidding scenario. Let's arrange them from higher price to lower.
We know that the company wants to sell 600 shares. So if it were to sell only to investor B, the company's supply of 600 shares would not be exhausted. If it sells it to C as well, it's still left with 350 shares more. However, only when the company sells it to investor D, it ends up selling all the 600 shares, and therefore the bid received from investor F will be discarded. Now amongst all the bids, the issue price will be decided. It is based on the lowest bid at which the company can sell all its shares. In this case, that bid is from investor D. So even though B made the highest bid at 30 per share, the investor would only have to pay 10. In fact, all the winning bidders have to pay the lowest bid price. Now the good part about the Dutch auction is its increased transparency. Because the Dutch auction is based on the public's bids, there is more transparency in the process. Second is its reduced transaction costs because it reduces the involvement of the underwriters. Third is Dutch auction is faster because it avoids the bidding war. Also, Dutch auction can fetch better prices for the sellers. So what happens is bidders experience greater uncertainty since they don't know what prices the other bidders are willing to pay. This uncertainty can make them pay a higher price to make a successful bid. And lastly, Dutch auction allows even small scale investors to participate. On the other side, Dutch auction gives companies less control over the IPO price because the price is dependent on the IPO process. Secondly, bidders are likely to experience two regrets, winner and loser. Winner regret occurs when winners believe they overpaid, and loser regret occurs when losers believe they underbid compared to the others. Lastly, it can even lead to the price inefficiencies, or we can say shares being inappropriately priced because investors may lack sufficient information.
So this is all about the Dutch auction. Hope it is clear. See you with another topic. Thank you.